First celebrity in the spotlight tonight is the presenter and journalist Kaye Adams.
Do you know how much was stolen by the skimming method last year?
A lot.
Correct.
Her subject is the Pankhurst women. Next, the chef and presenter Simon Rimmer.
We're doing whole baked red snapper, but we're wrapping it in banana leaves, and then it's got a brown shrimp and pineapple and coconut salsa with it.
His subject, the history of Tranmere Rovers Football Club. Third, the writer and presenter Danny Wallace.
I wondered whether I could do it, whether I could start my own country.
King Danny the First.
His subject is the Ghostbusters films. And finally, the broadcaster Nicholas Parsons.
Hello, my name is Nicholas Parsons, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to Just a Minute.
His subject, the life and nonsense of Edward Lear. Hello and welcome to Celebrity Mastermind with me, John Humphreys. We are, by common consent, a nation obsessed with celebrities. Well, tonight, it's the celebrities' own obsessions that we're dealing with. 4 contenders, each of them representing a charity of their choice, will face 2 minutes of questions on their specialised subject and 2 minutes on general knowledge. At stake, this trophy, but far more important, the kudos of being a Mastermind winner. So let's get on with it and ask our first contender to join us, please. And your name is?
My name is Kaye Adams.
Your chosen charity?
The children's charity NCH.
And your chosen subject tonight?
The Pankhurst women.
The Pankhurst women in 2 minutes, starting now. What was Emmeline Pankhurst's maiden name before she married Richard Pankhurst in 1879?
Goulden.
Correct. Which organisation of socialist women with the motto "Deeds, not words" did Emmeline found in 1903?
The Women's Social and Political Union.
Correct. Which cotton worker who joined the cause in 1905 became particularly attached to Christabel?
Anna Kearney.
Yes. The Prisoners' Temporary Discharge for Ill Health Act of 1913 reduced the need for the forcible feeding of suffragettes on hunger strike. By what name was it popularly known?
The Cat and Mouse Act.
Yes. Which of the 4 war babies adopted by Emmeline in 1915 was later adopted by Christabel?
Betty.
Yes. In 1914, to which country was Adela banished by her mother, who provided her with a fair £20 and some clothes?
Australia.
Yes. What was the name of the French girl with whom Emmeline became friendly while attending a school in Paris in the 1870s?
Noémie Rochefort.
Correct. Which Sunday newspaper published a scoop about Sylvia's illegitimate child whose birth had widened the rift with her mother?
News of the World.
Yes. Which country did Adela and Tom visit in 1939 as guests of its government? They wrote pamphlets in favour of better Australian relations with the country.
Japan.
Yes. Which couple were forced out of the WSPU in 1912 when they disagreed with the violent tactics advocated by Christabel?
The Pethick Lawrences.
Yes. In 1915, Emmeline and Christabel renamed The Suffragette magazine. What was its new title with the motto "For King, for Country, for Freedom"?
Britannia.
Yes. In 1913, Adela completed her training at Studley College, where she had studied which subject?
Horticulture.
Yes. What was the name of Emmeline and Richard's second son, who died of polio in 1910 at the age of 20?
Harry.
Yes. Which Soviet leader did Sylvia visit in 1920, sitting with him and the Scottish shop steward Willie Gallagher in the Tsar's former apartments?
Lenin.
Correct. In 1924, Emmeline Pankhurst went to which island in the Atlantic for an extended holiday with Christabel and the adopted daughters?
Bermuda.
Yes. Which Australian trade union finally expelled Adela's husband Tom in 1928 after a power struggle?
Pass.
In April 1913, Emmeline was sentenced to 3 years penal servitude, I started so I'll finish, after claiming responsibility for an explosion at the house of which future Prime Minister?
Lloyd George.
Lloyd George it was. You had 1 pass. It was the Seamen's Union that expelled Adela's husband Tom, but you knew that. However, you've got 16 points. And our next contender, please. And your name?
Simon Rimmer.
Your chosen charity?
Is When You Wish Upon a Star.
And your chosen subject?
The history of Tranmere Rovers Football Club.
Tranmere Rovers in 2 minutes. In 1938, Tranmere Rovers won their only league title when they topped which division of the Football League?
3rd Division North.
Correct. Which striker, who later went on to manage Rovers, is the club's most capped player, making 30 of his 69 appearances for Ireland whilst with Tranmere?
John Aldridge.
Yes. Which then First Division club did Rovers famously defeat 1-0 in the second round of the 1973 League Cup?
Arsenal.
Yep. In 1962, the manager Dave Russell changed Rovers' home colours to an all-white strip. What colour home strip had the club played in previously?
Blue.
Yes, blue and white. Which FA Cup winner with Everton scored a hat-trick for Rovers when they beat Southampton 4-3 in a fifth-round FA Cup tie in 2001 in spite of being 3-0 down at half-time?
Paul Rideout.
Yes, against whom did Rovers play their first Football League match on the 27th of August 1921?
Crewe Alexandra.
Correct. Which former England winger played for Rovers from 73 to 75 while studying at Liverpool University before moving on to Manchester United?
Steve Coppell.
Correct. Which cup did Rovers win for the first time in 35 despite being based in the wrong country?
Welsh Cup.
Yes. Who briefly held the record for the number of goals scored in a Football League match when he scored 9 times in Rovers' 13-4 defeat of Oldham Athletic on Boxing Day 1935?
Bunny Bell.
Yes. Which club did Rovers beat 1-0 in the 91 playoff final to gain promotion to the old second division?
Bolton Wanderers.
Correct. Which former Liverpool central defender managed Rovers between 72 and 75?
Ron Yates.
Yes. What was the nationality of the centre-forward Elkanah Onyali, who in 1960 became the first overseas and the first black footballer to represent Rovers?
Pass.
Which club did Rovers beat 1-0 at Prenton Park on the last day of the 86-87 season to ensure their Football League survival?
Exeter City.
Correct. Which legendary centre-forward made his debut for Rovers as a 16-year-old in 1924, scoring 27 goals in 30 games before joining Everton for a club record fee of £3,000?
Dixie Dean.
Yes, Rovers made their first trip to Wembley in 88 in the final stages of a competition to celebrate what?
The Centurion of the Football League.
Yes. In 2002, which midfielder moved from Rovers, I'll finish the question, to West Brom for a reported club record transfer fee received of £2.25 million?
Jason Kumas.
Jason Kumas it was. You had one pass as well, and the nationality of that centre-forward was Nigerian. You have, Simon Rimmer, 15 points. And our next contender, please. And your name?
Danny Wallace.
Your chosen charity?
Build Africa.
And your chosen subject?
Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters in 2 minutes starting now. Ghostbusters and the sequel Ghostbusters 2 are both set in which American city?
New York.
Correct. Which actor who plays the part of Egon Spengler co-wrote the scripts for both films with Dan Aykroyd?
Harold Ramis.
Correct. Which government agency is represented by the character Walter Peck, who shuts down the containment system with disastrous
The
consequences?
Environmental Protection Agency.
Yes. What's the name of the minion of Gozer who possesses Dana Barrett in the first film?
Zool.
Yes. Which character is lowered down an old air shaft in a Manhattan street and finds a river of slime running through the old pneumatic transit system in Ghostbusters 2?
Ray.
Yes. Whom does the librarian Alice say her uncle thought he was when she's asked if anyone in her family had a history of mental illness?
St. Jerome.
Correct. Rick Moranis plays Louis Tully, Dana's neighbour in the films. Which heavyweight actor was originally asked to play the part?
John Candy.
Correct. When Mr. Stay Puft arrives, Ray says that he remembers the marshmallows from when he used to roast them at which camp?
Wakanda.
Correct. What's the name of the Scourge of Carpathia and Sorrow of Moldavia who commands Janosch to find him a child so he might live again?
I sound like such a nerd. Vigo.
Yes. What foodstuff jumps out of the box and cooks of its own accord in Dana's flat before she contacts the Ghostbusters?
Eggs.
Yes. Which artist sang the BAFTA award-winning theme from Ghostbusters, which reached number 2 in the UK singles chart in '84?
Ray Parker Jr.
Correct. What's the name of the television programme presented by Peter Venkman in Ghostbusters 2?
World of the Psychic.
Yes. When Ray is being interviewed by Joe Franklin on television, what does Joe say is the big question that's been on everybody's mind?
Is Elvis alive and have you seen him lately?
Yes. How is Elvis? Have you seen him lately? Into what kind of household appliance do Egon and Ray pour slime before playing it music by Jackie Wilson?
A household toaster.
Yes. During the making of Ghostbusters, what substance was actually used to create the marshmallow dropped on everyone after Mr. Stay Puft is destroyed?
Shaving foam.
Shaving cream, yeah. In Ghostbusters 2, what form of ghostly transport runs through Winston when 3 of the Ghostbusters are underground?
It's an old train.
Yeah. On which day of the year does the Statue of Liberty walk through the streets of Manhattan, I'll finish the question, and smash through the roof of the Museum of Art?
It was New Year's Eve.
It was, indeed. You had no passes. You've got 17 points.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
And our final contender, please. And your name is?
Nicholas Parsons.
Your chosen charity?
Cancer Backup.
And your chosen subject?
Edward Lear and his nonsense.
Edward Lear and his nonsense in 2 minutes. Edward Lear was born the 20th of 21 children in May of which year?
May the 12th, 1812.
Correct. From which medical condition did Lear privately suffer from early childhood, calling it the demon?
Epilepsy.
Yes. In which poem do the two title characters catch a mouse and a muffin and then run quickly to town in search of stuffing?
The Speaky Sparrows.
The Two Old Bachelors. What name did he give to his short-tailed cat, describing it as a good addition to one's lonely, lonely life?
Old Foss.
Yes. For whom does the dong with the luminous nose go searching each night and all night long?
For his Jumbly Girl.
Yes. Under what pseudonym did Lear issue his first book of nonsense in 1846?
It was called Fantastical Rhymes Without Reason.
Derry down Derry. In the poem The Pobble Who Has No Toes, what is the name of the Pobble's aunt who made him drink lavender water tinged with pink?
Aunt Jobiska.
Yes. At which stately home near Liverpool was Lear employed to illustrate the private menagerie? He also started writing nonsense verse there.
Knowsley.
Yes. When the Jumblies went to sea in a sieve, they bought an owl and a useful cart and a pound of rice and...
A Cranberry tart.
A cranberry tart. What was the name of Lear's Greek-born manservant who served him for some 27 years?
Giorgio Cuccali.
Correct. Which famous poem did Lear write and illustrate in December 1867 to cheer up Janet, the sick daughter of his friend John Addington Symonds?
Pass.
In which Italian town did he live from 1871, first in Villa Emily and then in Villa Tennyson? He died there in 1888.
San Remo.
Correct. In the nonsense alphabet of 1870, which begins with the absolutely abstemious ass, what adjective describes the kangaroo who wore a pale pink muslin dress with blue spots?
Pass.
Which eminent Victorian praised Lear in the Pall Mall Gazette of 1886, stating, "I shall put him first of my 100 authors"?
Holman Hunt.
John Ruskin. In the poem The Owl and the Pussycat, what musical instrument does the owl use to serenade the pussy?
A small guitar.
Yes. In his semi-autobiographical poem How Pleasant to Know Mr. Lear, what wine does he drink a great deal of, but never gets tipsy at all?
Marsala.
Marsala is absolutely right. You had 2 passes, Nicholas. The adjective I was looking for was kicking, and the poem, you'll kick yourself for this, was The Owl and the Pussycat. 2 passes, Nicholas Parsons, 11 points.
Thank you.
So that's the end of the first round. Let's have a look at the scores. In 4th place with 11 points, Nicholas. 3rd place, 15 points, Simon. 2nd place, 16 points, Kaye. In the lead, 17 points, Danny. So the general knowledge round now. Let's ask Nicholas to join us again, please. And you're an Edward Lear man, Nicholas.
Yes.
Why is that? Why did you choose him?
I just love words and language, and he is the master. I mean, he was called the laureate of nonsense, but there's an underlying emotion behind every poem that he wrote, and I think it expressed something in his own personality. He was a very sad, lonely man in many ways. He had a very sad life. He had the epilepsy, asthma, bronchitis. He never married. He was so inhibited because there was such a stigma about epilepsy at that time. And I think that his nonsense was in not only an escapist thing, it was his own escapist world.
You've got a great knowledge of it, clearly. You have 11 points with your knowledge of Edward Lear. Let's see how you do with general knowledge. 2 minutes, starting now. The male of which bird is known as a cob, the female is a pen?
That's a swan.
Yes. A statue of W.G. Grace stands in the Coronation Garden at which cricket ground?
Gloucestershire.
Lords. Which hymn, with words by William Blake and set to music by Charles Parry, is traditionally sung at the last night of the proms?
Land of Hope and Glory.
Jerusalem. Which major river burst its banks in July 2007 and caused severe flooding in Tewkesbury and Gloucester?
That was a 7.
Yes. In classical mythology, what were the names of the twin sons of Zeus whom he transformed into the constellation Gemini?
The twins.
Yes, the names?
Pass.
In which Italian city's cathedral is there a length of linen that has been kept there since 1578 and was believed to be the burial garment of Jesus?
The shroud is in Milan.
No, Turin. Who painted a portrait of his mother, which has the full title, Arrangement in Grey and Black, number 1, The Artist's Mother?
Pass, I know it. Pass.
Yes. Which French wine-growing region is centred on the department of Côte d'Or?
That's the bone.
Burgundy. What word describes a heavy substance loaded into the hold of a ship to make it more stable?
Ballast.
Correct. The boxer bombardier Billy Wells strikes a gong at the start of many films made by which production company?
Rank Films.
Yes. Which member of Margaret Thatcher's cabinet was a civil airline pilot from 1953 to 1970?
Parkinson.
Norman Tebbit. In which novel by John Steinbeck are the central characters Adam Trask and his twin sons Caleb and Aaron?
Grapes of Wrath.
East of Eton. Who was nicknamed the Little Corporal after the Battle of Lodi in 1796?
Napoleon.
Yes. Which British singer who later became a DJ topped the UK charts in 1955 with The Man from Laramie?
Don't pass.
What name deriving from a North American Indian word is given to a long, narrow sledge turned up at the front?
Long narrow sledge. It's...
Take a guess.
Take a guess. It's what they go down the Chester Run on.
I'll give it to you. It's a toboggan. And
I'm sorry, it's as simple as that, is it?
Exactly. It's all very simple, really. Well, sort of. The other pass is Jimmy Young sang The Man from Laramie. Whistler painted that portrait of his mother.
The one I knew.
And Castor and Pollux were the mythical twins. 4 passes. Nicholas, you have 16 points.
Right.
And now Simon, please. And you do have a sort of interesting restaurant background. I mean, there you are. You bought a restaurant. You didn't have any money, really, to run it properly. You couldn't cook.
No.
And it was a vegetarian restaurant, but you're not a veggie.
That's right.
So,
perfect business plan.
Perfect business plan. Why?
Well, my business partner decided we wanted to buy a restaurant and had absolutely no knowledge. And we bought an existing vegetarian cafe. It was very sort of downbeat. And I always say that if it had been a Turkish restaurant, I'd be the proud owner of a Turkish restaurant now. There was no decision other than the fact, yeah, that looks all right, we'll have a go at that.
And it worked.
Yeah, I mean, 17 years on, you know, we've won lots of awards. We're busy, so, yeah.
And you're still not a vegetarian.
No.
And
No.
your other restaurant is not a vegetarian.
Exactly. I still think I'm a devout carnivore.
Right. You have 15 points, which is a high score. So let's see how you do with your general knowledge. Here we go. 2 minutes starting now. Which common painkiller can help prevent strokes and heart attacks when taken daily by people at risk?
Aspirin.
Yes. Which motor scooter is said to have taken its name from the district of Milan where it was manufactured by the firm Innocenti?
Libretta.
Yes. Who released her debut album Made of Bricks after a successful single Foundations in 2007?
Kate Nash.
Yes, which metal traditionally used in clinical thermometers is the only one that is liquid at normal room temperature?
Mercury.
Correct. The resorts of Gombe and Marmaris are on the Aegean coast of which country?
Turkey.
Correct. Which Hollywood star made her London stage debut in 1998 in the Blue Room at the Donmar Warehouse?
Pass.
According to popular belief, the city of Rome was named after which of its mythical founders?
Pass.
In the music business, what informal name is given to a member of the support crew who erects and dismantles the equipment used for rock concerts?
Rigger.
A roadie. Which battle in which nearly 20,000 British soldiers died on the opening day began on the 1st of July 1916?
Somme.
Yes. 9-spot and 7-spot are species of which beetle?
Ladybird.
Yes. From which American city has the country music show The Grand Ole Opry been broadcasting since 1925?
Tennessee.
Nashville. The German astronomer Friedrich Bessel was the first person to measure the distance from the Earth of what sort of heavenly object other than the sun?
Star.
Yes. Which American poet published her only novel, The Bell Jar, under the pseudonym Victoria Lucas?
Sylvia Plath.
Corrected. Which jewellers did Holly Golightly take breakfast, according to the title of the 1961 film starring Audrey Hepburn?
Tiffany's.
Yes. The Clarence Hotel in Dublin is owned by 2 members of which rock band?
U2.
Correct. Which Scottish journalist has presented Newsnight since 1993 and Newsnight Review since 2001?
Kirsty Walk.
Correct. In which town in southwestern France did 14-year-old Bernadette Soubirous have numerous visions of the Virgin Mary in 1858?
Lords.
Yes. A deficiency of which vitamin causes rickets, a childhood disease which results in defective bone growth?
Calcium.
Vitamin D. Portia Simpson Miller became the first woman Prime Minister of which Caribbean country in March 2006?
Bermuda.
Jamaica. You had 2 passes. City of Rome was named after Romulus, allegedly, and Nicole Kidman was in the Blue Room. Simon Rimmer, 28 points. And now, Kaye, please. And you will be, I suppose, mostly known for Loose Women, as it were.
Yeah.
I mean, for presenting it not being it.
Yeah, I'm a reformed character now.
A reformed character.
Yeah.
Why? Why did Loose Women do what it's done? Because it's just a group of women talking.
Well, what could be more fascinating than that,
Well,
John?
yeah, there we are.
Are
But
you
if you
happy?
had loose men, it wouldn't work, would it? Or would it? I don't know.
I think it would be very, very different. I think women do have a particular way of conversing with each other. They tend to be more open than men. They tend to tell stories more than men rather than jokes. So I think there is a different dynamic, and I think probably women lend themselves to that format more so than men. I would think so.
Really? So women don't tell jokes? Well, I'm not sure that men tell all that many jokes, do they?
Oh yeah, men like gags, they like a punchline, you know,
Ah.
have you heard the one about blah-de-blah? Whereas most women have got more going on in their minds than men who just want a cheap laugh, you know?
And how would you define a cheap laugh as opposed to an expensive
Well, that was one there, actually.
Right, 16 points. And there is a whacking great score to beat, 28.
Amazing.
So, there you go. Let's see if you can do that. 2 minutes of general knowledge starting now. Which town in Ireland has been noted for its crystal glassware since 1783?
Waterford.
Yes, Holby City and the police series Holby Blue are spin-offs from which long-running BBC drama series?
Casualty?
Yes, which American crime novelist created the forensic pathologist Kay Scarpetta?
I don't know.
Which member of the royal family celebrated his 85th birthday on the 10th of June 2006?
Prince Philip?
Yes, the ridged pods of which vegetable, also known as ladies' fingers, can be very slimy unless they're carefully prepared?
Ochra?
Yes, in which London park are the capital zoological gardens situated?
Regent's Park?
Yes, which American playwright wrote The Glass Menagerie and A Streetcar Named Desire?
Tennessee Williams.
Correct. Which elf-like beings that feature in stories by Juliana Horatio Ewing in 1870 so endeared themselves to Robert Baden-Powell that he named a section of the Girl Guides after them?
Brownies?
Yes. Which British player beat Betty Stove to win the Wimbledon Ladies Singles Championship in 1977?
Virginia Wade?
Correct. Derived ultimately from the Latin for poison, which term refers specifically to poisonous fluid secreted by animals which is typically injected into prey by biting or stinging?
Venom?
Yes. In poker, what name is given to a sequence of 5 cards of the same suit headed by the ace?
A flush?
No, a royal flush. Which country was renamed Democratic Kampuchea after the Khmer Rouge, led by Pol Pot, took over in 1975?
Cambodia?
Correct. Which word for a large, luxurious car is derived from the French word for a type of hooded cloak?
Sudan?
Limousine. In the traditional pantomime Cinderella, what's the name of the page in Baron Hardup's house?
Buttons?
Yes. Which district in New York State has given its name to a dinner jacket?
I don't know.
Which type of headache derives its name from the Greek word hemicrania, meaning half head, as only one side of the head is usually affected?
Migraine?
Yes. Eve's pudding consists of a sponge layer over a base of which fruit?
Apple?
Yes. Which actress who joined EastEnders as Ronnie Mitchell in 2007 represented Britain in the 1991 Eurovision Song Contest with the song A Message to Your Heart?
Sonia?
Samantha Janus. And we are out of time. Didn't quite get to start a new one. You had 2 passes. Tuxedo Park gave its name to the tuxedo. And Patricia Cornwall created Kay Scarpetta. 2 passes. Kaye Adams, 29 points. And now, finally, Danny, please. Oh, boy. High scores, eh? You put an advert in a local paper, what was it, 5 years ago?
Yeah.
Saying, join me.
Join me, yeah.
Now, what was the point? Join me in what?
Well, I didn't know. I didn't know what the point was at that stage. I just put the advert in, just saying, join me, just to see whether people would join me. I didn't know what they were joining or you know, what we'd do in the end, and they didn't know who they were joining, and I'd assumed I'd get millions of people. Initially, I got 1. And from there, I got thousands more, and to this day, I've got more than 20,000 people who call me their leader.
Now, presumably, at this stage, you do know what they were joining or are
Yeah.
joining.
After I had a couple of hundred people, I had an attack of guilt, and I thought, all these people are looking to me, they're calling me the leader, so I thought, rather than use my powers for evil, I'll use my powers for good. So I turned them into the Karma Army, and I asked them every Friday they'd have to do a random act of kindness for a complete stranger, and that's what they did.
Right, you have a score of 29 to beat, which is formidable, but you have 17 points already.
Right.
So, 2 minutes, general knowledge, starting now. Which legendary soul singer was billed on some album sleeves as the godfather of soul?
James Brown.
Correct. A Suffolk Punch and a Shire are breeds of which animal?
Horse.
Yes. Which comedian hosts TV Burp, a review of the week's television programmes?
Harry Hill.
Yes, Ken Livingstone described it as the scariest thing I've read since Silence of the Lambs. He was referring to the biography of which prospective London mayoral candidate?
Boris Johnson.
Correct. In which Dickens novel does Sidney Carton go to the guillotine in place of Charles Darnay?
I should know that. Pass.
Which country house in Hertfordshire is the ancestral home of the Marquess of Salisbury?
Pass.
Which word of German origin is used for a shop selling specialist groceries and luxury foods such as preserved meats, foreign cheeses and spiced loaves?
Delicatessen.
Correct. What in the Bible was made of gopher wood and measured 300 cubits long, 50 wide and 30 high?
Noah's Ark.
Correct. Which band has had hits with When You Were Young, Read My Mind and Tranquilize?
U2.
The Killers. In 1897, which writer sent a cable to the American Press Association saying reports of my death are greatly exaggerated after his obituary had been published by mistake?
Oh, Hemingway.
Mark Twain. Which Mexican revolutionary gave his name to the type of bushy moustache fashionable in the late 60s?
Ernesto Handlebar.
Zapata, in the television series Dad's Army, who was captain of the Wilmington-on-Sea Home Guard platoon?
Mannering.
Yes. Which Parisian boulevard links the Arc de Triomphe with the Place de la Concorde?
Pass.
What surname is shared by the musical brothers Aaron, Art, Charles and Cyril and the footballing brothers Gary and Phil?
Neville.
What?
Neville.
Yes. Which 19th century war was fought between the Russians on one side and the British, French and Ottoman Turks on the other?
Pass.
Which word for a wooden frame for hanging criminals can also be used to describe a grim, sardonic type of humour?
Gallows.
Correct. According to superstition, which insect should be told about a death in their keeper's family?
A bee?
Yeah, bees. Absolutely.
All right, fair enough.
Well, absolutely.
I'll
Extraordinary.
believe you this time.
You had 4 passes. The Crimean War
Yeah.
was the 19th century one we were looking for. The Champs-Élysées links the Arc de Triomphe, etc. Hatfield House is the home of the Marquis of Salisbury. And the Dickens novel, A Tale of Two Cities. 4 passes. Danny Wallace, 27 points.
Oh, that's all right.
Well, a close contest. Let's have a look at the scores. In 4th place with 16 points, Nicholas. In 3rd place with 27 points, Danny. 2nd place, 28 points, Simon. In 1st place, 29 points, Kaye. Kaye, come on. Receive your amazing award. You said you were terrified, were you really?
I was absolutely terrified, and then when Simon did that storming performance, I thought, oh my goodness, I'm going to make a fool of myself.
But you
here.
held on there. Well
I'm
done.
thrilled. Thank you very
Congratulations.
much.
Well done.
Thank you.
And that's it for this series of Celebrity Mastermind. Thanks for watching. Don't forget the normal Mastermind continues on BBC Two. Good night.
Are the women of Clatterford Guild planning a coup? Sue Johnston and friends in the new series of Jam and Jerusalem tonight at 8:30. And it's comedy next on BBC One, Holiday Hell with the Harpers in My Family.